Well, hello there, guys. We are back with another tier list. This time, African clearing. We did complete Nomad the last round. Took the best part of 40 minutes, but it did actually happen on a Twitch stream, which nearly took 3 hours. It was very long. I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it. It was actually good fun because we have a lot of people that came in chat, did deliberate about some civs and where they should be placed and whatnot. And yeah, I also did an African clearing one, and that's what we're going to be going over today. Another very popular map, a nomad start map on Age of Empires 2. Some of the maps aren't very popular. African clearing certainly is. So you're going to be going through this one. And I'm doing this because I am hosting a tournament of my own, Nomad Wars League, utilising all of the Nomad start maps. We do have custom maps, so because we don't like the yellow box. And we have rules, so you don't need to have the treaty either. We don't like vil fighting. But we have rules, so no worries about that. Features on the maps: Nomad, African clearing, Land Nomad, Nile Delta, Water Nomad, and Mountain Pass. So hopefully the players are in it. We'll take some notes from the tier list videos. We'll have a good idea. We have ELOs from 1800 all the way down to sub 1k and everything in between. So certainly some learning could be done, and maybe some players will develop some new strategies or just go for the meta from the tier list. But that's the whole point. Hopefully it's going to be beneficial. If you're not in there, try and hop in a Discord. Description should have the link there. Anyway, let's get hopped into the tier list. It is going to be for African clearing. This one took about 2 hours 15 minutes on stream, so not crazy long. And like the last time, it's important to try and identify criteria to what makes a civ good on this map. Right? And there's every map, has their plays that makes things more viable for them or suits the strengths of civilizations. We have 39 civs in the game, so there's lots of, there's a big amount of variance in how civs can be played. And we'll just get hopped straight into this one. And I'm going to do kind of similar. We'll just go through the criteria. I'll pop them up. Number one, probably one of the most important things is ability to use, able to utilize shorefish and hunt. There's so much shorefish and hunt. There's an absolute plethora of shorefish and hunt. So if you can use these and it suits your civs very well, that'd be good. And also rely on shorefish and hunt. It might not suit your strengths, but if it's something you can bankroll your military with or your villagers, then that's also a big positive. If you don't need to drop farms and things, then that could be a good thing. So one thing to keep in mind. Maybe there's a few civs in there that's going to help out. Criteria number 2, very open map with heightened emphasis on security. So we get all the wood on the outside, and it is basically a big cavity in the middle. It's very hard to wall. If you do go towards the edge zone, then maybe you can make something happen there. But yeah, it's very open, usually quite aggressive. Don't really see games going to post-Imperial Age too often because of it, so Castle Age can be a major play there. And then just having a civ that's able to kind of boom safely, or, be able to put TCs up and make things very safe could be important on this one too. Number 3 is military mobility. Obviously, we talk about this on Nomad Start maps. There's no guarantee where the TCs are going to be. So having a civ that has the flexibility to have high mobile options is very, very nice. We'll kind of talk what kind of mobile options you're looking towards in here. Obviously you have knights and camels, but there's so much gold, the wood can be relatively safe. Is Cavalry Archer going to be a big play on African clearing? If you have played it, I'm sure you'll have an opinion on it. I certainly do, but we'll get hopped into it very soon. And then the last one, exact same as the Nomad, we're going to go for complexity. How simple is a civ to play? Are they simple to play in this map? Are they something that has really strange timings, not very standard? That's things you have to consider. They might be really strong in some hands, but then somebody else plays them, and then it's a different story, right? So, let's get hopped into it. I think we'll do the same as the last time. We'll kind of start with the very top, just to kind of set a baseline, and then we kind of work our way down through the A to Z. We've got a little bit of a mix up here. Bohemians shouldn't be there. They should be the Britons, and then Sicilians, Burgundians should be there. Sicilians should be after Saracens, and then Poles, and here. And then I think we're good. I think we're good. Anyway, top civs. I know the icons can be hard. I'll say them out nice and loud so you all get there. If you don't know them, you should just learn them. That's what I'm going to say. But number one, best civ on African clearing is definitely Indians. Don't really need to explain too much here. They have faster shorefish collection, and the shorefish is just, and there's so much of it, it's really crazy. And shorefish is already the fastest food income in the game. Outside of civ bonuses and whatnot, it's the fastest you can get, and then Indians gets made even faster. So really, really strong in this map. They get very nice camels, very easy to kind of boom up because of the cheaper villagers as well. And then you have also very good cavalry archers, so they have very good options in African clearing. Indians, for me, one of the clear S tier civs. I don't think there's too many. I think there's 3 or 4. And the next one, for very similar reasons, is Mongols as well. There's so much hunt. You can really make so much use of it. It's not too uncommon to have 2 patches a deer, 3 elephants or boars. Well, you don't get boars in Africa. Rhinos, round the TC, drag them in, get up. You can get up super fast. The transitions onto Castle Age are fast because of it as well. And then there's still lots of gold, lots of stone. Mangadai could be a play. You could even open cavalry archers in Castle Age with Mongols and then transition on to Mangadai at a later stage. Makes sense, right? The cavalry archers for Mongols are very, very nice in Castle Age. One of the best in the game. So, Mongols just super, super strong, but you can also open the feudal play, open scouts. Same with Indians. I really, really rate these 2 civs. My next S tier civ would be Chinese. Now, we're just setting the baseline. Chinese ended up in the C tier on Nomad, partly because they've struggled if you don't land in food. Well, what is there absolutely hundreds of on African clearing? You're almost always guaranteed to land in food. Always get that TC down on the shorefish. Ideally, that outer rim. It's closest to the wood line, and then you just go straight onto it and you barely have any idle time whatsoever. You maintain that villager lead. They have a super flexible tech tree, can go for mobility options. I really, really like Chinese on African clearing. And then the last one I'm going to put in is Mayans. You'll see Mayans very, very commonly picked at top level on African clearing. I think we all know how good they are. Longer lasting res, which is actually super good on shorefish, especially hunt 2. But then the mobility options that they can go for plumes, they can go for eagles when they do get to Imperial Age, even if they get it. But the only really time they do struggle is Feudal Age. But even then, they could go for archers if you wanted to go for that. But I think the FC into plumes is, the common play with Mayans. And it's very, very strong. It's very strong, very hard to deal with. Even mangonels can have issues with it defending. If you're in a small, tight little space, so easy to split micro with the plumes. They're really nice. Don't underestimate them. These are the top 4 S tier civs on African clearing. And I think we'll start to go through the A to Z now. So these are the top ones. Any civ that's going to be in A, you would rather have S. Any civ that's going to be in B, you would rather have the civs in A, so on and so forth. And I'm not necessarily saying the civs in D or C are bad. It's just that you prefer the civs that are in the tier above. I'm not too sure about the rankings of 1 to 4 for these, but in the tiers I'll try and start with the strongest, or I'll try and order them. Strongest to the left, weakest to the right. So they'll have almost like an A+, A-, normally, and a B, so on and so forth again. Anyway, Aztecs. Aztecs for me, for similar reasons to Mayans, A tier civ. They also have the extra carry rate, which is really nice. It used to be more difficult when it was +5, because you have to do lots of force drop-offs. Not really an AC though, because of the shorefish. It just collects so fast. Don't know if you ever just actually click on your villager sometime and watch how fast it comes in comparison to some other resources. It's crazy how quick it comes in, but they get the extra carry rate, which is extremely nice. And then they also have the mobility options like eagles as well. They don't obviously have the unique unit and the other kind of really strong conny bonus in comparison to Mayans, but they're very nice. Lots of gold, can get to eagle spam without any issues. Eel spam in AC can be really difficult to deal with. I have them as an A tier Civ. Berbers for me next. Berbers another A tier Civ. Again, similar kind of mobility options, except in totally different units. Can go for knights, can go for camels, and they also have one of the best unique unit in the game, which is camel archers, and that counters quite a lot of the other cavalry archer civs that are going to be near the top here. So Mongols and Indians, going to be two of them there. If you get to camel archers, they can be absolutely hellish to deal with. You also have the faster walking villagers, so the long lawyers on the elephants or the rhinos take minimal damage, and you can get them in pretty safe and not have to worry about it. Too bad there. Also have your marginal gains, getting your villagers out to your wood line and whatnot. They're a really solid civ. The map's usually pretty open. You have the faster working stables, and once you get them going, oh boy, it can be hellish to deal with. Burgundians Bohemians. A little bit of a strange one. I have difficulty placing them in the right spot, but I think they're C. And they do have the mining and, well, they have both the mining techs for free, but they don't really have true mobility options. They don't have cavalry archers. Hussites can be obnoxious to deal with. You also need redemption to deal with them, which can be difficult. But I don't know if I see a place for them. I think they're situational, and you'll see a lot of these civs in C and D will be very situational when you can use them. They will have good matchups, but these civs and the S and the A's should almost be very strong against other civs and the rest of them. And that's what puts them up in the S and the A tier versus a C. Now, I think Bohemians have some potential in some areas, but yeah, probably a little bit underwhelming. Can get to some quick castles though, because you have stone shaft mining right from the bat on Castle Age. But the map's so open anyway, you can always find more resources. It's a bit of a pickle having to relocate all the time, but I think C, maybe high C, is going to be the place for them there. Britons is a difficult one for me. I think they're high C, borderline B, and I think I originally had them C, but I think I want to go low B. We looked at the criteria, right, and one of them is, very open map with heightened emphasis on security. Cheaper TC is really nice. The only thing they struggle with is mobility units. But if you get to the Arbs anyway, and you could play defensive with Arbs a little bit, but if you're having to react crazy amounts, then it might be difficult. The one thing they don't really get to utilise the sheep bonus in the Dark Age, because you're usually scouting them, but Shorefish is so good anyway, it's nothing too crazy to worry about. You can usually get up to Imperial Age pretty fast. I think they're probably going to end up about low B. I think there's a lot of other civs I'd rather have, but I wouldn't be upset if I have Britons. I don't think I'd be upset. And I think I originally had them high C, but yeah, I think low B is where the best area they'll be. Burgundians, again, it's the same little issue with Burgundians. Quite complex to deal with. Their mobility units, they're fine. They do have Cavalier and Castle Age, but you miss out in Bloodline, so there's not actually too much you gain on that front. Yeah, I mean, they seem like a solid option. If you can get the eco rolling, it's fantastic, but you don't really get to fully utilise the farms super early. But you can bankroll the knights, get them going. I think they're going to end up low B, or I'm talking myself out. I think they're C, actually. I think I'd rather have other... My process right now is I'm thinking about other knight civs in the game. And I think I'd rather have them in B than Burgundians in C. Yeah, I think so. Bulgarians, wasn't a big fan of them on Nomad. One major thing that hurts Bulgarians is they don't have the eco bonus. And let's not really play that down. It is quite a nerf, but Krepos, I think, can be a lot nicer in African clearing than I do on Nomad. Simply because you can spam so many more of them, and it can really help with defending the gold and the TCs that you have around them. Conics also can be strong on this map as well. They're one of the most pop efficient units in the game if the game does go very late, because you essentially get 2 units for the price of 1. You have the Conic and the dismounted Conic. which, counters the one unit they're probably fighting against, which is probably more cav, which is nice. And yeah, I think they're solid and they have some potential. I don't think they're going to be high B. I think they'll end up creeping their way down to the low Bs, but kind of happy to keep them where they are. Burmese, a little bit of a struggle here. Are they going to be low C or high D? They do get to Iron Buys, which can be nice. I think I'd rather have Burmese over Bohemians. I think I originally had them high D, and I had Bohemians and low C, but I think I'd rather have a Burmese actually. Have the wood bonus that comes in and the free upgrade. Not crazy to be honest, you're probably going to get them when you age up very quickly anyway if you're a good player. But I think I like the mobility of Arambai. Obviously archers aren't going to be a massive problem for Burmese. I kind of like them in C actually. I think if you get to Arambai, you're going to be looking for a castle at some point anyway. That can be difficult to deal with, and you could do some good damage. Arambai obviously got the nerf in the last year, but they're still really strong if you get to a mass of them. Can also counter some other cavalry units quite well if you get to a good mass. Their missed shots also deal 100% damage, so it's crazy if you ever see them go up against a fight against conquistadors. God, it's... Let me just say, Arambai win pretty comfortably if you actually get to a good mass of them. They just absolutely destroy conks if you have to do a little bit of moving around as well, especially with the gunpowder being always quite inaccurate. Byzantines, for me, I think they're going to be in D. Don't really get to make use of their water. Their cavalry is not very good. Don't get bloodlines, cataphracts, very underwhelming in Castle Age, probably not going to get to Imperial Age. They can get quicker up to Imperial with the cheaper upgrade, but yeah, I don't see it. They could, potentially they can defend with the Halbs and the Skirms, but that's just textbook Byzantines. It's just being defensive, playing on the back foot all the time. I think I still prefer to have the other Sieves, but they can be awkward to play against. That's the only thing. But the map's so open, it's going to be hard to always defend with pikes and skirms. You're going to have to get some really creative walls up with castles and whatnot. But I think they're probably going to be in this high D area. High D. Celts next. I'm going to put Celts in D as well. Obviously, the eco is nice once you get it rolling. The issue for me with Celts, though, it's always about the military, and they just don't have any really nice transitions at all. Oh, let me just fix that. I did move it down a little bit. They don't really have any nice transitions. Very difficult. There we go. That's much better. Very difficult to get it going with the siege. The siege pushes. It takes time. The transitions aren't very nice. You do get ward raiders, but a little bit underwhelming in Castle Age, but could do some good raiding potential. I just don't see it. Their night options aren't very good. CA aren't very good, which is what the map is largely paired with. Yeah, I think I'd rather have the Sieves in front. I really do. Although, I'm still feeling like Burgundians is probably a little bit too high. I think it probably is a little bit too high. Anyway, Cumins. Cumins is a difficult one for me. I think they're borderline... I think they're borderline high C and low B. I'm not too sure how useful the second TC will be on African clearing, but I think it could be a potential at some point. But you can get quite, if you get fast up to feudal age, you can go for some crazy pressure with the cheaper military buildings. They have Kipchaks as well, which is nice from the castle. Can also get to very strong cavalry. I think they're going to end up about low B. But I feel that's a good place for them. Kipchaks can do some damage in Castle Age. Could be really nice. Yeah, I think will be the place. Ethiopians, I think they're going to be D, but I'd rather have Ethiopians or Byzantines though. I think I'd rather have Byzantines. Obviously, the cavalry is absolute ass for Ethiopians. You do get the extra res on the way up. Their arbs, if you do get to them, or even just their expos, are pretty obnoxious. Machine guns have got. But yeah, I just no. The cav options aren't very good. Very very underwhelming. Don't see them being a major factor here. Of course, you do. If the situation is, if you are playing as an archer civ and you end up with your TC right next to another players, then they can be very strong. They can defend well. You can also go in the offensive without having to move too much. A couple of mangonels behind it, then they could be very strong. But the chances is on Nomad, there's going to be a distance between you guys, and you're going to want to prioritize mobility, being able to react. That's a lot more important than having a very strong archer civ. Franks. Franks. Gonna be a difficult one here. I feel like I'm putting Britons there. Probably low B for me. In front of Cumins, though. In front of Cumins. I think I had them originally high C, but I'm seeing low B now. And largely because you don't really need to be able to use your bonus, but if you can rely on something, it's also really important. So you can rely on the shorefish, on the hunt to bankroll the units you want to go for. What do you want to go for with Franks? You're going to want to go for the super strong knights, which are amazing. You have the extra HP on them. It's quite easy to get the FC to Castle Age. The only thing they don't have, they don't really have good cavalry archers. They can get countered if they're going up against the Camel Civ. Are they going to be top C or bottom B? I think that's fine. I think I'll have them just ahead of Cumins. Or no, I think I'll have them below Cumins. I think I'd rather have Cumins for Kipchaks. Obviously, you want to get, the bearded axe guys out of the castle from Franks. I think they're going to end up a bit lower B, and I'd happy having them there. Now, the next one is Goths. And I think I originally had them in D as one of the bottom civs. But King Boo did have a little word in my ear. And one of the things he did talk about was being able to rely on being able to rely on the shorefish and the hunt. And for Goths, that could be really nice. If you do get to a castle and get to Huskarls, Huskarls are actually pretty mobile. And they're going to be very difficult to deal with if they're spammed into your eco. And I think probably high C is probably going to end up. I think it's very fair. You don't really have any issues getting in the elephants too, so you can just shoot them and they just die very quickly, which is nice. Kind of similar to Berbers, obviously the faster speed you get them in. So you should take no damage on your villagers, but kind of the same thing with the elephants and Goths. You just shoot them so fast. You don't need to do the TC trick or whatever. But they do have their problems, Goths. They are very streamlined. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're very obvious to what they want to do. And obviously they do want to get to Huskarls here. So what one-dimensional, that is the word I'm looking for. Or two words, is it? They are a little bit one-dimensional. Yeah, I'm happy with them in C. Huns, I'd be having them right up towards the top. Do have very good mobile options. And Knights have very good CA, which you can go for in Castle Age. Not the hardest thing to get spamming and get going as well. Very simple, easy to play on Nomad, especially the ones where you don't have warriors, you're not affected by the less wood. You don't have to spam houses, you never get housed. It's not a crazy bonus, but it is something. And Huns, Huns are Huns. They're very difficult to deal with on open maps. Open maps where they can run around, hit and run and get away. I would say they're high A for me, high A. Incas, they're always a little brother of all of these civs here. I think they're significantly worse in comparison to Mayans and Aztecs. Incas do have the house bonus. Nothing crazy. They get the free llama. There's loads of sheep on the map anyway. It's very unusual for you not to have the sheeps. So I think I'm happy with them in C. I think I'm happy with them in C. Yeah, I'll keep them there. Italians don't really get to make use of their water bonuses and whatnot. They don't get to make any use of their dock technologies. Do get Genoese Expos. They do get fully upgraded Cavalier. But I don't really see them being able to do too much. Genbos could work in some situations, but you're probably playing in a back foot in that case. They do get some nice transitions to Feudal Age and Castle Age, so maybe you could get some knights out at that point. I think C is fair, but gonna put them down more towards the mid C. Um, yeah, I think mid C is going to be the place for them. I'm just comparing them to Goths. Would I prefer Goths? I think I prefer having Huskarls over Genbos, to be honest. Huskarls a little bit more mobile. Probably shouldn't have too much difficulty getting to them, I don't think. And yeah, I think that's fine. I think it is fine. Japanese next. Japanese seem to be like a difficult one to kind of put down as well. I think they're going to be high B. They also have the cheaper economy buildings, 50% off on those ones, which is really nice for spamming around the shore fish and all the different patches you can get to. Don't really have crazy mobility options, but they do have fully upgraded cavalry archers in the game, so they can get to that. Are they going to be A tier though? They can go for Knights and Castle Age, I suppose. They can get to see you later if they're going to go for that. I think we go for Japanese and A. And they can also put up some defensive towers in some cases if that's going to be needed. Probably not, but you get some nice little savings along the way. Can't really make use of their fishing ships, but I think they're going to be low E, low A or high B. I think I'd prefer them. I think I'd prefer them much over these guys. So I think that's fair. Okay, Khmer next. Khmer are pretty damn nice in African Queering. Can get some really nice transitions to feudal age and castle age because you don't need to make the buildings, of course. You're probably gonna have to make a lumber camp and a mill anyway in Dark Age, so not the craziest thing to get to feudal age. But you do go for a quick TC around the middle and have your TC, you do have these kind of sparse wood lines in the middle of the map on ponds and wood, so you could put a TC there effectively and try and get up super fast. I've done some crazy build, 16 pop and whatnot, getting up and then going for mass scouts. But having the houses is really nice next to the shore fish and whatnot, so you can just pop in, not have to worry about it. Lots of exposed res. Will save you some villagers there. You can get some TCs up at a later stage. So, having that eco security is quite nice for Khmer. And generally, you can play in the front foot as well because of the quicker up, not the quicker up times, but you should have some nice transitions for the ages with Khmer. Koreans, I'm going to be putting them in A as well. We've all played against Warbagons. They are absolutely brutal to deal with. They can sit under TCs, which you're most likely going to be making a lot on African Queering, just going to be spamming them all over the map to protect your resources. But Warbagons in Castle Age have 5 Pierce Armor. Really, really solid option to be going for. The extra line of sight is also very good for the early game as well. I think they're a very solid Civ, and I think I'd prefer them over the Civs in B here. Yeah, I think I would. Lithuanians. High B, low A. Do I put them in A? Okay, so we have the extra food to start. We have the knights that can get super strong if you pick up some relics. Do I prefer these civs? I think they belong in A, but low A. I think they're more geared towards playing defensively. You have the faster skirms and the faster spearman line, which can actually be really nice. A little bit of added mobility, and I think that bumps them up to. But you can get a really nice transition to feudal age because you have the extra food. I think low A is where they're going to belong. I think we're going to see quite a few extremely good civs on African Queering here. But I'd like the distribution to be pretty even. Obviously, the top one's going to have less civs than the other because these civs are just apart from everybody else. Magyars, I'd be putting high B. I'd be putting them ahead of all of these guys. Do get the +2 knights, don't have an equal bonus so to speak, but you can get 2 cavalry archers, which can be very strong as well if you do get to them. But the +2 knights can do a hell of a lot of damage. Does get you some nice savings there. And the +1 scouts, if you go for 5 or 6 scouts, the res is so exposed, you can do a lot of damage with Magyars. Played them on African Queering quite a bit. Always been pleased with them. I think they're in the right spot here. Malay next. I think Malay are right down the bottom, if I'm being honest. I don't see a whole lot of potential with them. Don't really get to make use of their dock techs and what goes on there. Extra line of sight, fish traps, very unlikely. Don't really have great power units either. Karambits out of the castles. Do have some elephants and whatnot, but yeah, I don't really see anything on African Queering. For Formally, of course, you can get the quicker up times. Is that enough? Is it enough? I mean, we're bringing complexity into it as well. Would I have them over Celts? I think they're around this area. I think they are around this area, but they're just. It seems very awkward to really do. I think you can get a scout rush going without too much issues, and it could be really effective. So maybe I put them at top of D, but Celts then put down to the bottom. And that's, as a Scotsman, that kind of hurts. But I think there's maybe some potential for a really fast scout rush there. But apart from that, the game will just get harder and harder. Maybe some situational times if the TCs are super close to each other, then they can get some damage. But yeah, not a big lover of them here. Malians. I think I originally had them A, but I'm feeling like high B now. Feeling like high B. Do get really nice knights and camels, of course. Longer lasting gold, which is nice. Cheaper on the wood as well. High B? Looking at the Sieves in A, I think I'd rather have them. Looking at the Sieves in B and then C. I think they're in the right spot actually with B. I think they're in the right spot. I kind of like where they are. Have a really nice eco if you get everything rolling. Can get some Giberos, which are, anti-infantry, not something you're going to be dealing too much with. In African Clearing, yeah, I think high B is the right spot for them. Persians. I think I'm putting them similar place to Malians. Obviously, top two Civs and Nomad have a super strong eco. Persians' eco is a little bit stronger, but I think they've got worse units. So I kind of rank them just behind Malians, but if you do get a nice ball of knights rolling, they can be very, very strong to deal with. They do get +2 damage on the archer line as well if you're going up against somebody that is spamming the archers. I think that's a fair place to put them. I think I'd rather have Persians over Franks, extra HP on the TCs as well, so if you do get smushed, it's a big, big investment for the player doing that one. Poles next. Again, a little bit of a weird one. Do I even have Burgundians over Italians? No, probably not. Poles, they do have the full works, so if you get them rolling, you can drop off the food. But again, the map is so open, it's more open than most of the other Nomad maps. I don't know if you can make full use of it. It's quite difficult to wall off here, but could be really strong in the right hands. I really do believe that. And you do get the extra stone. Sorry, yeah, you get the extra gold from the stone mining. I think I prefer them in other Nomad maps where it's a little bit easier to wall. I think C is a fair place, but if you get to the night spam with the unique tick, that could be a very dangerous one to deal with. 33 minutes on the clock, we're doing alright. Portuguese next. Portuguese. I think Portuguese don't really have any eco bonus, don't get to make use of their water play. Organ guns can be really strong in certain situations, but not the most mobile unit. Even mass light cav can deal with in some instances and shouldn't be the hardest thing to kind of surround organ guns with your mass light cav. I kind of rate them as a low D, even having the cheaper gold units. Yeah, it's not a Civ I'd be particularly happy getting on 1v1 African Queer, and I think that's a fair spot. Next up we have Saracens, have lots of flexibility in their tech tree. Don't get Cavalier anything when you get to Imperial Age, but super strong camels. Also get very good cavalry archers as well. Man, would we see Memolex with Saracens? That would be hilarious. But they have the markets and then get some nice transitions for the ages. I think mid B's pretty fair. I kind of like where they are in that spot there. Sicilians, I think, are round about mid A. One thing I failed to mention, I think, in the Nomad video is just the gold units for Sicilians are very difficult to deal with. Very difficult to deal with because they take the less bonus damage, don't they? So they're always a very strong option to go with. More often than not, if you go trash against Sicilians, you are going to be struggling. Even if you go pikes, you're going to struggle. And if you go camels, you're probably going to struggle. And you have the castle drop potential, and you also have the TCs, which can get popped up super fast, and you can protect resources. I kind of like. I've got all the deliberating going through my mind right now. I kind of like them in A. I think that's a good spot for them. I'm happy with them there. Slavs, down towards the bottom. Takes so long to get the farms rolling. Again, not the nicest transitions, but you could go for some knights, I suppose. But nothing special about them. Do I prefer the eco for these guys? Am I being too harsh here? Am I being too harsh? I think I prefer the farming potential for... Not even farm potential. I think I prefer the eco potential from Burgundians and Poles. Kind of a similar civ. I think I'm happy with them there. Spanish, I'd be ranking them right towards the top. Maybe just behind Huns. You always get that extra... Well, you should get an extra villager out if you both place your TCs at a similar time, which can be super nice. Top tip, you also can, if you're always guaranteed to get your TC up first with Spanish. When the yellow box goes away in the ranked games, you can almost record how many villagers you're going to be ahead. So if you've already created a villager and the box just goes away, well, then you're a villager ahead. If it's 50% through, then you're half a villager ahead. But you should always be one ahead with Spanish. Sometimes you can get really nice and you can be 2 villagers ahead. Been there, done that. Really nice little bonus. And then it's so open, the map. Conquistadors can do a hell of a lot of damage. Not the hardest thing to FC. You can just do some small walls out for the gold and the stone, and scouts are not going to do too much damage. I really like Spanish and African Queer, and I think A is quite fair. Quite fair. Tatars for me are about B. Don't really get to use your eco bonus with the sheep because you're likely scouting with them. You do get the extra ones as you pop the TCs up, but you're probably putting them on shorefish anyway, so not super important. You can get a really nice ball of CA going. But I think I prefer Magyars just because you get the extra attack when you do get to feudal and castle. Yeah, I think B's pretty fair. Teutons, quite a slow civilization in terms of their cavalry. Not the most mobile, doesn't get husbandry. I think I had them originally in C, but I'm feeling almost like they're D. I feel like they're almost D. They could be solid defensively, get murder holes on their castles, of course. But I think would I rather have these civs? Potentially. I mean, it's really nice to get the farm eco rolling. I think I prefer it over Burgundians. The farms are so cheap, you can just place them like crazy. Maybe, yeah, I think maybe mid-C is the place they're going to go. I'm happy with that one. Turks. Turks, I think, are just going to sneak in at A. They have the cavalry archers, but you can also go for Jannies in some instances if you have a castle as well. So they can do really well. The one thing they do kind of struggle with is no upgrades on, no line upgrades on the pikemen and the skirms, but the Hussars are so good they can raid, and they get extra pierce armor there. I think they're low A. I kind of really like them on African Clearing. If you can get the scouts out and you have extra pierce on them, or even just to like having the Hussar at the later stages of the game. Next one up is Vietnamese. I think B. And part of the reason that always puts them there is finding out what the TC is super nice, but you have so many sheep in African Clearing, the scouting can be really fast anyway. You get to Rattans is nice. Out of all the archer civs, I'm probably going to be trending towards Vietnamese, so maybe I'm going to put Britons down here. Yeah, I think that's more fair. I think I'm going to put Vietnamese ahead of Britons. And yeah, you can always go for arbs. Good in some certain situations, and their actual stable isn't horrible. So maybe mid B seems like a fair place to go. And the last one is Vikings. Not a big fan of Vikings in this map at all. Can't really utilize their water. Has a good eco, of course, but I think high D probably the fairest place to go with these guys. Military options aren't so good anymore. Wouldn't be too happy if I did get them on African Clearing despite all of the eco bonuses. And that is that one, guys. The African Clearing 1v1 Age of Empires 2 tier list. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did make it all the way through, congratulations. We'll be having more out very soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.